Notice Hebrews 11, verse 9. By faith, speaking about Abraham, he dwelt in the land of promise, as in a foreign country. Notice he was in the promised land, but it was a foreign country. Dwelling in tents with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. For he waited for the city, this is Abraham, which has foundations, whose builder and maker is what? God. Which city did Abraham look forward to? To that little city? Is that what God promised Abraham, that little city over in the Middle East? Of course not. He looked forward to the heavenly Jerusalem, just like we do today. Notice verses 13 through 16. Once again, this idea is amplified. It says, these, speaking about all these heroes of the Old Testament, all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, were assured of them, embraced them, and confessed that they were what? Strangers and pilgrims on the earth. See, they knew that this earth wasn't their home. They knew that that little strip of land over in the Middle East wasn't their real home. Notice verse 14. For those who say such things declare plainly that they seek a homeland. Were these people seeking a homeland? Yes or no? Absolutely. Verse 15. Which was that homeland? And truly, if they had called to mind that country from which they had come out, they would have had opportunity to return. But now they desire a better. That is a what? A heavenly country. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, for He has prepared a what? He has prepared a city for them. Interesting. So how many cities does God have? One city, composed only of Gentiles, if it's the New Jerusalem in heaven. Is that what the Bible teaches? The Bible teaches that there's one city composed of the apostles and the 12 tribes. All of God's people in one city. Now there's another point that I want to make, and this would be point number 5. The church in the Bible or God's people in the Bible are represented by only one woman. Listen, if God has 2 separable peoples, then He has 2 wives. He has 2 women. And God would be a spiritual bigamist. Excuse me for saying that, but it's true. Now notice Revelation 12, verses 1 and 2. This is speaking about the church of the Old Testament, the woman of the Old Testament. Notice verse 1. Now a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a garland of 12 stars. Then being with child, she cried out in labor and in pain to give birth. This woman represents the Old Testament church. And you say, how do we know that? It's very simple. Because she's pregnant with a child. Who is the child? The child is Jesus. It has to be the Old Testament church because the child hasn't been born yet in verses 1 and 2. So this woman represents the Old Testament church. And by the way, did Jesus come from the Old Testament church? Was Jesus a descendant of Abraham? Was Jesus a descendant of David? He most certainly was. Jesus was born from the Old Testament church. But now I want you to notice that after the child is caught up to God into His throne, notice verse 5, she bore a male child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up to God into His throne. In other words, after Jesus ascends to heaven, then the dragon goes after whom? He goes after the woman. Is it a different woman or is it the same woman? It's the same woman. Notice verse 6. It says, then the woman fled into the wilderness, where she has a place prepared by God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. Does the same woman flee into the wilderness as the one who brought forth the male child? Yes.